Right.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to another exciting session of CLS Conversations. I am Neha Gupta and today with us we have Miss Koral Dasgupta joining us from Mumbai. She's an author, she's a painter, she's a professor and she's an entrepreneur. Also, she's not only a compulsive storyteller, she is an advisory board member of Central Board of Film Certification. Too many feathers to her cap. Also, not to mention, she's also recognized in the list of Innovator 25 Asia Pacific 2019. Hi, Coral. We welcome you to our CLS platform.
Thank you so much, Neha. Just one correction that I am not a CBFC board member any longer. Those are usually 2-year terms, and I have completed my terms controversially and successfully.
All right. So, apologies for that, but I think when it says on the net and your details are there, it's like you are there. But thank you for being modest as well. So, how have you been?
As good and as bad you can be in these crazy times. So I've been loving it. I have been hating it. It's creative. It's crazy. All at the same time.
Oh, well, it's a very, very big day for you. Your book, Aaliyah, is in the market today. One of the 5 series, Sati series. So congratulations from all of us to you today.
Thank you so much, Neha.
And before we talk about your books, your Sati series as well, I'm curious to know, what does your name mean? It is the color coral or it is something else in Bengali? It's out of curiosity completely.
Koral is actually Coral, Koral. That was it. That's what it was meant to be. And there was a time when K was a very happening alphabet in the entire list. Everything with K was lucky. So I just adapted K. It didn't prove to be that lucky, but then it's okay.
No, it's absolutely lucky. So many books coming in the market, so many in the pipeline. It is definitely lucky.
Thank you so much, Neha.
So please tell us something about your new book, Aaliyah.
Aaliyah, actually, when I started writing Aaliyah, I always knew that I will be writing the Sati series, which is about the Panch Kanya. The Panch Kanya, when translated, and it's not my translation, it's a very scholarly translation done by great scholars. And Panch Kanya, when translated, it's translated as the 5 virgins. And it's interesting to note that all these 5 women have had more partners than their husbands. And still they are called the 5 virgins. So, so many days back, an ancient text had introduced women and called these kind of women 5 virgins, meaning that if you are doing something, okay, so all these 5 women, they had more than one partners because either out of ignorance, like Aaliyah, or out of a greater good, like Kunti. Right. So that is as per the popular narrative of the 5 virgins. But an ancient text, which was written so many days ago, introduces these women as virgins or Kanya, meaning that the purity factor of women doesn't rest on her body, but it is all about her intentions, her mind. I found that extremely modern. I found that very, very progressive. And I also know that that is not the way people have interpreted ancient Indian texts as. That is not the way the traditional narrative on South Indian women or the traditional expectations from South Indian women has been built. So I always knew that I will write all 5 or none. Right. So whenever I approached a publisher, I approached 3 actually. And all 3 I spoke about the 5. And interestingly, I said that I have just written Aaliyah. About the rest 4, I don't know anything about at all. That what I'll write, because my stories happen when I write them. Before that, I have no idea what they'll be. Pan Macmillan actually stood out to be a very brave publisher.
I'm sure they're listening. They must be happy. But
No, it was feminist, which I
women
will tell you in due course.
But you have those women characters in your mind: Mandodari, Kunti, and
Yes.
Draupadi, Tara. All these characters are your like Panch Kanya's characters. Your books are going to be revolving around that. The first one coming
Yes.
is Ahilya.
So, when it comes to Panchakanya, obviously it is a feminist retelling of the Panchakanya stories. And if I may avoid the word feminist and replace it with a progressive feminine retelling, I would probably go for that terminology rather than the robust aggressive feminism, which I don't believe in.
Okay.
Uh, Now, the retelling or this series of books are meant to talk about the women. Obviously, they are the protagonists, they are the main characters whom I am interpreting, analyzing, trying to understand, trying to explore, without breaking the popular framework within which their stories are built. I'm not trying to challenge their existing framework. I'm not trying to make something else out of it. I'm not even qualified to do that. What I'm just trying to do is I'm trying to interpret, I'm trying to find the deep rooted philosophy, which may have a different meaning altogether if you are ready to look at it from that angle. Now, when it comes to these women and when it comes to any kind of progressive feminine narrative, you would probably agree that the narrative is not complete unless and until you have included the men. So my Panchkanya series or my Sati series will not just be a linear telling of Ahlia or Kunti or Draupadi or Mandodari or Tara. Rather, it will also be a retelling of the influencing partners that these women have had. So, interestingly, in the stories of all these five women, uh, there is a very strong influence of Indra. So there will be an analysis of Indra as well. When it comes to Kunti's story, we will try to understand Pandu as well. When it comes to Draupadi's story, we will take another look at Arjun as well. So that's how it goes.
And Ahilya is Brahma's creator, right? And then the way you have portrayed in the book that as a father, right? Father is a risk taker, and mother looks for perfection, and father seeks for perfection. Would you want to elaborate a bit on that, because it's very much relatable to the society that we exist in as well? So, I mean, Ahilya at that point of time, Brahma being the father, seeking for perfection, and now the current times when parents are looking for perfection, how do you relate the two?
There are many ways to relate to this. For example, not just a father. I mean, any father figure. Take, for example, a teacher, right? A teacher is also your parent, right? So you will often see that a teacher, when he is teaching, he seeks to achieve something through the student, and only when he achieves something through that student, you actually get to remember that teaching. You try to think of any popular narrative. I mean, look at Bollywood, for example, right? You see any teacher student story. It could be Chak De, it could be Super 30, it could be any. But unless and until the teacher has fulfilled something through the student, that story is not something that has become a path-breakingly memorable story.
Right.
Father is that he wants his legacy to be carried forward. He is very ambitious about the child. And when it comes to the mother, the feminine energy is such that you look at the child and you don't look at anything beyond. You look at the present. You look at the beauty of what you have in front
Right.
more than anything else.
Right.
So it is said, and it is not something that I am making up, but it is very much an established fact that
I'll agree.
women are emotionally stronger and men are physically stronger. So this particular thing is when it comes to me analyzing the father mother equation, it
Mhm.
is more about the typical patriarchal setup and the very typical feminine hormonal the reaction that comes out when it comes to parenting a child, or it comes to uh, helping a child grow up. The father's perspective of a child and the mother's perspective of a child is very different. Having said that, this is not absolute. There are feminine fathers and masculine mothers, if you understand what I'm trying to mean. There are mothers who are very ambitious. There are fathers who are uh, very much happy with what lies in front. That is also there. So, my idea of saying this is that feminine and masculine, we have made it a gender construct, ideally or physically, ideally or philosophically. It was not meant to be a gender construct, it was meant to be a philosophical construct.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I was just going through the book on Amazon today, and there is something very interesting. I mean, even in the book you've mentioned about the mist. Mist appears everywhere. I'll read out something to you why it makes me very curious. Somebody's written this for you. This wonderful retelling adds to the corpus with a lyrical and poetic quality. The image that will remain with you is of the mist. That is the reason Ahilya and this rendition is so enthralling. It's by Vivek Debroy. So, what is this mist? And it's everywhere in the book that you mentioned. So, is it a portrayal of a character, or it's an atmosphere, it's a feeling?
My Ahalya was born from Brahma, and Brahma didn't need a woman. So basically, in my Ahalya, you see Brahma as a sculptor, an artist, and an artist is very ambitious about his art, right? He can't share his art with anybody. You try and tell an artist that whatever you are doing, you just step aside. I'll do a little bit. He will not allow you, right?
True, absolutely. Agree. Nobody likes to get tampered with their art at all.
Exactly. Yeah. So Ahalya is Brahma's child. Now, born from a father and brought up by another man, which is Gautam, who also married her later. Ahalya is in search of a mother. Why? Because a mother, she missed the natural feminine intelligence. She missed the natural feminine affection, and she was looking for it. And she didn't have any other place to go, so she went to nature. And you will find in Hindu mythology or in Hindu texts, all the Hindu devas and devis are actually nature. Hinduism believes that nature is more powerful than man. And so all the gods and goddesses are actually one or the other face of nature. And the entire philosophy, the entire mythology stands on nature. So when Ahalya goes to nature to be mothered, and it is trying to figure out, that is when mist comes in, and Ahalya develops a very special relationship with mist. And the interesting factor about mist is that uh, it makes you experience, feel, see. At the same time, there is a veil, right? It doesn't cover completely, it doesn't cut you off completely, right? Isn't the same it is what it is inside the mother's womb.
Right.
The mother's womb actually allows you everything, but then it gives you a protective cover.
Right.
You can look at the mist like that it covers, but not completely.
Right. Fair enough. And we also see that elements of patriarchy is there in the book. But are there? Do you feel that there is male chauvinism as well existing in the book, like Gautama and then Indra and then Rama towards the end? So is that kind of a thing also existing around the book?
My understanding, I am a little well read in Hindu texts, a little well read, I mean, a little well read than many others. I'm not an expert, but I'm little well read because I was immensely interested in these things, and I have read many versions of these texts. What I see is, or what I have realized is Hindu texts or Hinduism as a philosophy, it doesn't push things down your throat, never. It just tells you certain stories and leaves you at that. It's totally up to you how you consume that story. So the way you read that story and what you make out of it depends upon your politics. The way I look at the story depends upon my politics, right? So when I look at the story and try to interpret it, I don't see patriarchy in Hindu texts. I find reasons of why certain things are happening or why they are the way they are. I will just pick up, I will not give away the entire thing, but I will just pick up one of the points that you have raised. Why Rama? Why Rama comes and touches Ahalya and liberates her. Who is Rama? Rama is Krishna, right? Avatars of Vishnu, Narayan, right? And all these avatars are said to be the supreme being, the one that resides within you, the one from whom you cannot hide anything. Everything is open to uh, that super soul inside you. So basically, I see that Ahalya's liberation was not someone coming and touching a stone and she stands up. That is a metaphor. I see that Rama came and saw her inside out. He actually understood Ahalya. He saw the reality of Ahalya, which Gautam couldn't.
Right.
He understood her. Gautam didn't. But when Rama came many years after, he actually realized and understood the reality of Ahalya. And that is what was liberating for the lady. When someone loves you, it might be it could be a regressive love, it could be pulling you down. But when someone actually understands you and you are not questioned or you are not misunderstood on the choices that you have made, that is truly liberating, which Rama did.
Right. I think she couldn't feel that sense with Gautama. It was with
Yes,
only with
Gotham didn't even try. Gotham was more of a dictator. He had a lot of dictatorship qualities, not because he was a villain, but because that is the world that is the truth of his world. He grew up in that kind of a situation. He was accustomed to certain things, and he couldn't look beyond because nobody taught him. He didn't go to nature, right?
right,
Allah did.
right. Fair enough. And also, Coral, why? What made you write Sati series? I mean, what are you thinking on? Because if I see your previous books, like Rasya and then Power of a Common Man, they are different. This mythological, this setup is completely different. Then where is the drive from, or what brings you to write Sati series? Completely different.
So, my problem is that I get bored very easily. So I cannot keep on repeating my genre. I know that there are people who, and it is said, which I completely agree, that people say that the more you practice on something, the more you get better at it, which is absolutely true. But then it is their truth. I feel that unless and until I jump, I explore myself in 10 different things, I will get trapped in one world, and I don't want to get trapped in one world. So you will find that my books are very different from each other. The first was academic nonfiction. Second was romantic book. Third was Bharatanatyam dancers. Fourth was graphic designer. Comedy. I mean, nobody expected me to write a comedy, though it comes very naturally. But uh, and this one. I am, as I said, that I am comparatively well read in mythology, so it came very naturally. When I was
Right.
writing Ahalya, I didn't. It didn't happen that I was stopping and thinking, and I was stuck, and I was wondering that how to do it. It didn't happen. It just happened in one flow. Uh, and then, of course, there were a lot of improvisations that happened. But the first draft was it was a smooth writing. Uh, how I got into it, yes, I didn't wake up one morning thinking that, okay, I'll write mythology. But it happened, that one journalist friend, I had written some status on mythology and Indra. I keep thinking on these things a lot. As I read, I keep thinking, something comes to the mind, I put it on Facebook or Twitter. And he started an argument with me, and he made a comment that Indra, are you glorifying Indra because he's a philanderer, he's a rapist? So I, took two steps. I took 2 moments. I observed 2 moments of silence, and then I asked him that, "Do you think that Kunti chose Indra to father the biggest warrior of Hindu mythology because he was a rapist?" So he was like that. Okay, then you tell me why. And so that was one of the triggers which I had in my mind, that sometime I will definitely explore this deity. He is the most ill-interpreted, less explored, misread, and lesser known deities. But then he is an extremely interesting figure in Indian mythology, and he must be explored more. There are not many who have written about Indra, and interestingly, all these 5 women has the presence of Indra in their lives. That is something
Right.
I'll definitely.
If Lord Indra is listening to this conversation, he's going to get a bit confused. There are compliments as well for him and a little bit of confusion about him as well.
He is supposed to be the god of illusion. So I hope and I pray that he fills my life with lots of illusions so that I don't have to come back to reality. I love that.
Right. Fair enough. And also, Koral, is there a difference between Panch Kanya and Panch Sati, or are they the same?
Panchkanya has its, and I'm very happy that you asked this, because this is something that Namita Gokhale had pointed out to me when she was giving me the quote, and I'm very, very thankful to her that she pointed this out, and then I had put up a small explanation at the end of the book so that readers get to know about it. Panchkanya has their mention in the epics, in the ancient texts.
Right.
Sati doesn't. Sati was not a part of the original Hindu texts. Sati, the construct came much later, when there were lots of telling, retelling, and all that. So Panchkanya is Ahalya, Kunti, Draupadi, Mandodari, Tara, and Panchsati are completely 5 different women,
Right.
which includes Sita, which includes Damayanti, right? So their construct, so they are definitely different. But then when it comes to the original telling of epics, Panch Sati is the only mention, and these Panch Kanya is the only mention, and the Panch Kanya are considered to be great satis, whose name, if you take, you gain a lot of learning, you gain a lot of purity in your heart, and you grow more profound.
Right. Because somewhere in mythology, Panch Kanya, Panch Sati, a lot of people, they confuse
True
easily.
that. True that. I completely agree.
So that is like great information on your book, Ahilya, and I'm sure it's going to do very well in the market.
Thank you so
Go.
much.
You're also the founder of Your Story .biz.
Tell me
What?
your story.
Tell me your
Your
story.
story is Radha Sharma's. Don't get her to sue you and kill me.
Okay. So tell me your story. .biz. What is that all about? That's another baby of yours.
Yes. Tell Me Your Story is a platform where we invite people to come in and hold on to certain stories of their lives or of their minds, which they would like to store. So we have been doing this for 4 years now. A lot of writers have debuted with us. A lot of established writers have written for us. But the beauty of this particular platform is that the way I see it, unless and until you document uh, those very important parts of your life or of your mind in the form of stories, tomorrow I die, the stories that I have collected, so many stories that I have collected all my life, they perish with me. Uh, the inspiration of my professor is a story. The memory of my grandfather is a story, right? my best friend, my fight with her is a story. There are so many which has shaped me in so many years that I have been on earth. Those stories should not be destroyed. Those stories should not be lost. So tell me your story is one attempt to capture those, inviting people that if you have a story, we would love to publish them online. And what
Right.
we realized is that a lot of people have a lot of stories to say, but a lot of them don't know how to say those, and a lot of people don't know where to say those. So we came in as an answer to both. And now we have started something called TMYS Review. And since I am on CLS LitFest, through you, I would like to tell your viewers that do visit the website tellmeyourstory.biz. We have a call for a submission section where we have collaborated with 8 best authors of India who have made uh, their footprints felt in across the world. So this includes Namita Gokhale, this includes Chitra Divakarani, Aruni Kashyap, Shoikat Majumdar, Arunava Sinha, Shongita Bandopadhyay, Tuhin Sinha, Kiran Manral, Perumal Murugan. So these 8 authors, this is a project that we have launched where people, the scholars, academic scholars, are supposed to submit their essays on any of the books written by any of the books that we have listed in our call for submissions, and others can submit their short stories based on the theme. And there are also we have tied up with 3 publishers, which is Simon and Schuster, Pan Macmillan, and Rupa Publishers, and we are also collaborated with Shida People. So any contributor has a lot to receive from this, and there's a lot to take away from this, and this can give them immense. I wouldn't call it a reward, but it would be a network building. It would be a space where they can get their stories, their essays read, evaluated, and their writing skills should reach out. So I welcome your viewers too to look at that and submit if they want.
I'm sure the CLS viewers and the writers will be an extreme nice opportunity to make some submissions to tellmeyourstory.biz. I'm really sure.
Thank you
Well,
so much.
uh, Coral, how has your journey been with Pan Macmillan?
Oh, so it's a very unusual journey. I have been right from the beginning. I have been working with Prashun Chatterjee. Before that, I had connected with Rajdeep Mukherjee, and that too, it was not a planned thing. It's not that I had met Rajdeep in a lit fest or he knew me from before. Nothing. It was a social media interaction, and very informally, I had just told him, and it was just an immediate connect. And then Rajdeep put me in touch with Prashun, and working with Prashun Chatterjee, he is the editorial director. It was a fabulous experience, and more so because both I and Prashun are early morning people.
Right.
So most of the conversations that we had, my writing time is mainly that very early morning, and most of the conversations that I and Prashun have had are actually 5 o'clock, 5:30.
Right.
So 5 o'clock, 5:30, and post lockdown, when everything went topsy turvy, so Prashun would call, and I would put my earplug, and I would go to the kitchen, do my job, and I would be talking then, and that is and 5:30, between 5:30 or 5 to 6, half the book discussion would be over.
Okay.
And when the cover was getting finalized, I mean, I always say that, and it was really really fascinating that the cover is actually, if you see, there's a painting from Hemen Majumdar, and we were very clear that we would use a painting, and we were looking for a painting that would fit in, that would make sense, and that would look very beautiful. So it was difficult to get a particular painting, and finally we knew which painting we wanted to use, and we figured that the rights are with a professor, an art collector based in Singapore. So we figured him out. We wrote to him. So finally, the permissions from the professor came, I think, I got him in the morning at 4. I found that his mail is there. So I immediately forwarded that mail to Prashun. At 5:20, Prashun and I spoke. And by 6:15, the final cover was in my mailbox.
Right.
This was something which doesn't happen very regularly.
True.
But then, Prashun is one such very, very unexpected individual who has been as ambitious about the Sati series as I have been. That doesn't happen very commonly.
Great, great. So it's very nice that you share a very great relationship with Pan Macmillan
Yes,
altogether.
yes, yes, I do.
So, Karan, would you have any advice or some sort of a sharing with our young budding readers and writers when they write and how they approach to publishers? What piece of advice would you like to give them?
I think today, I mean, when I started writing, things were much different. And today, if I would uh, pitch myself to any publisher, I would probably create a portfolio of mine to be shown before I even show the manuscript. So that doesn't have to be a elaborate thing because today nobody has time and the publishers are hounded with too many proposals anyway. If it can be a portfolio which very quickly shows your skill of writing and at the same time shows your maturity as an author. When I say maturity as an author, it means everything. It means your uh, potential as a seller, it means your credential as an author, it means your capabilities to engage people with your personality, everything. Now, not everybody is, an expert in everything, which I understand. It's not possible and it's immense pressure on anyone. But then what all of us must understand is that publishing has a cost attached to it. And whatever you are writing has to sell. Now, if you have written fabulously good thing, there will be a word of mouth catching up.
Right.
If you have a fabulous network, it may or may not matter how good you have written. If you write and immediately there are 10,000 people waiting for you to buy you, right? If you have a fabulous media personality, which is immensely consumable, then also you have a ready audience. So you have to show something to the publisher, right? It's a collaboration. It's not something which can happen. I mean, it is not a charity. Nothing is a charity. End of the day, it is business. You have to understand that business. As much as people say that writing is an emotional thing, which it is, but unless and until there is a flowering effect to anything, you don't have to think of money, but at least you think of uh, how whatever you have done, how that goes ahead and fetches you something. If you understand that, that itself is a transaction, and a
Right.
transaction is important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And such nice words and such nice thoughts from you, Coral.
Thank you.
So I wish you all the best for your book, Ahilya, and for the future upcoming books. And for the viewers, all those who want to get connected with Coral, all her links are in the comment section. Please go visit the links and get her book. I've read the book personally myself, a lot of it, not completely, lot of relatable context to it. There are a lot of versions of Ahilya in the mythology, a lot of versions are there, but this is a very simple tale, retelling of tale that I can figure out. So I'm sure you also would be excited to read that. I'll read something out to you that made me actually feel that this is very relatable. This is for all the audience out there. When feelings are taken away, you get to see your present, past, and future without bias or baggage. How thoughtful, Coral. How thoughtful. I
Thank you
mean,
so
you
much,
got
Neha.
so much depth in it that I was actually carried away. That made me read a lot more in your book.
Thank you so
So,
much. That
wish you
I
all
mean,
the best and thank you for being with us. Hope you enjoy the Mumbai rains and Ganesh Chaturthi tomorrow. And once again, CLS members, CLS viewers, thank you again for being with us. And I hope you visit Coral Links and also go check her book on Kindle as well on Amazon. Thank you and have
thank
a
you so
good
much. Thank you so much.